हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी, हरि बोल।
Hare Krishna. So, madam, just starting the YouTube recording. Just
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Hare Krishna, everyone.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु जी।
Very good. So let's start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishiki. कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनच्छलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं सागरजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेशा गोपिकान्त राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् नामिने नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषवाचालम पंगुम लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानंद माधवं श्री चैतन्येश्वरं। हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So there has been small break in our discussion of Dhruv Maharaj's pastime. We had wonderful festivals over the last weekend. Also, I had some other urgent things to attend to. So I believe we completed chapter 8 and we were about to begin chapter 9. So we discussed in this very beautiful pastime of Dhruva about how he performed, determined to get a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather, Lord Brahma, being hurt in his self-esteem, Kshatriya spirit, by the harsh words of his stepmother Suruchi. He was so disturbed that he decided to outdo his ancestors by seeking the blessings of the Supreme Personality of God, because he was clearly directed by his mother, nobody else can satisfy your desire. Shastras, that's why very clearly tell us that akamo sarva kamo va moksha kama udarati vivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. That even if we have material desires or even desires for liberation, even though ideally we should not have any other desire than serving the Lord, but even if we have any other desires, it is still best to approach the Supreme Personality of God. And there are many reasons for this. I don't want to divert into the topic, but the two main reasons are, one is ultimately all blessings come from the Supreme Lord himself. Krishna says even the Devatas cannot grant you blessings without my sanction, because ultimately I am the giver. So better directly go to him. And second is, when we directly go to him, even if it is for material desire, because the Lord is all pure and because we are eternally his part and parcel, somehow that contact with the Lord purifies us of material desire, which is our ultimate benefit. Correct? Just like when we go close to the fire, whether we know about the fire, yes or no, it's going to burn us. Of course, this is a negative example. But the point here, the burning is the burning of all inauspiciousness in our heart, not burning us in the sense of harming us. It will burn away all the inauspicious desires. Because actually all desires are inauspicious, material desires are inauspicious. Why they are inauspicious? Because they perpetuate the cycle of birth and being tempted by small enjoyment, we become hooked. Like a fish tempted by a small enjoyment, we become hooked. And his whole life is taken away. This is a very, very profound point, which actually takes so long for conditioned souls to appreciate. And it's not that I have fully realized this, but we are working towards coming to that strong realization and faith that ultimately material life, along with all its desires, are ultimately a path of inauspiciousness, because even the pleasures are just traps to give us more pain. Anyway, so the point I was trying to make originally is that it is always best to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because one, he is capable of fulfilling our desire, and he will fulfill our desire in a way that is good for us. In a way that is good for us. Sometimes we are so adamant, I want it this way. I want to be happy. I deserve to be happy. I will do it this way. God, you must support me. But especially for his devotees, Krishna is extremely careful that he gives things in a way that will actually lead to happiness for his devotee. Because sometimes we are actually so conditioned, we don't even know what we are asking for. There are so many things we don't know. Things we think which are good for us may actually be bad. And the Lord, because Rikalajna, he knows everything. It is best to rely on him. Anyway, so the point again is that Dhruva was wise that he approached the right personality. Of course, no other personality could have even granted him his desire, because in this case he wanted a kingdom greater than Brahma. Who can grant? Which Devata can grant a kingdom greater than Brahma's? So he performed such intense austerities which are practically unparalleled. We discussed that in great detail. I'm not going to go through it again, but slowly, from eating fruits and berries in the first month, once in 3 days, gradually intensifying his austerity month after month after month, he eventually came to the standard of taking a breath once in many days. I think, was it 9 days or something like that? One breath. So again, disclaimer, please do not try this at home, because I want to see you for the next class. Not that I want to see you for the class, that's why I'm saying that. But we will not survive, nor will we go back to Godhead by doing such kind of austerities. Definitely kill ourselves, that's for sure. So always, when we are not qualified to do something, if we try to do rather than giving advancement, it will just lead to frustration and harm. That's why Krishna always says, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is very clear. Do not try to imitate the duty of another person. Do your duty even though it may be imperfect. Because that will take you to the next higher level. And then you follow the duty of that next higher level. Then it will take you to another higher level. Don't imitate a very high duty. And for that, one needs, of course, guidance from the spiritual master. And Dhruv was fortunate. He got, because he was so sincere, Krishna immediately sent him the spiritual master. And Narad Muni advised him, and he did such wonderful austerities. He did austerities to the point of such intensity that the universal air was choked. Because he closed all the holes of his body through the yogic process and he was meditating on the Lord. He became practically heavy like the universe, and he started pushing the earth down with his toe. The Devatas could not breathe. Now, how all this technology works, it's difficult because subtle sciences are very difficult. But please do not think of this as imaginary exaggerations. And the Acharyas explained that this actually factually happens. And they have given an explanation. I don't go into the technicalities. How did he learn this? Narad Muni explained to him the process. So, yeah, Narad Muni explained in great detail the process. He just followed that process. Only that he went on intensifying. Because the ultimate goal of what Narad Muni told him was to exclusively meditate on Lord Vishnu within the heart, which he was doing. So all his austerities, all other things he was doing was ultimately meant towards this full absorption. So when the Devatas rushed to Lord Vishnu and prayed, please help, please help. And this Dhruva is creating a situation that is disturbing all of us. The Lord said, do not worry, my devotee Dhruva is the cause of all this, because he's so Sangatatma, he's so absorbed in me. So don't worry, I will go and stop him and I will release you from this misery. That's where the 8th chapter ends. I'm just doing a quick revision. So the 9th chapter begins with the Lord sitting on the back of Garuda. The Lord went Garuda Airlines, flew to Madhuban, to the Madhuban forest where Dhruva was performing his intense meditation. Now, this particular chapter is very, very deep, very, very profound. Actually, practically every verse we can discuss for 15-20 minutes. And that also is not adequate. But I'm just going to go a little faster. Otherwise, the pace of our discussion will become very, very slow. So just excuse me for that. So the Lord went in front of Dhruva. He was fully absorbed in meditation and he was thinking of the Lord within the heart. And as soon as the Lord appeared in front of Dhruva, and that particular incarnation of the Lord, because whenever the Lord descends, it is known as incarnation. Avatar. Avatar means when the Lord descends. So descent is not just when the Lord appears in a human-like form by taking birth in an apparently human way, like Ram or Krishna or the other incarnations. But even these descents of the Lord from the spiritual world for a specific Leela is also an avatar. So this particular avatar is known as Prishni Garbha. Similarly, the descent of the Lord to save the elephant, Gajendra, is also another incarnation. So the Lord appeared in front of Dhruva Very, very beautiful. We discussed this beauty of the meditation of Dhruva. And something very interesting happened as soon as the Lord appeared in front of Dhruva. And what was that interesting thing? The Lord who was within the heart of Dhruva as he was meditating on that form, suddenly that form disappeared. And Dhruva, who was experiencing such great bliss being absorbed in that form, he was disturbed in his mind. Where did the Lord disappear? He was just now in my heart. And being perturbed, Dhruva opens his eyes. And lo and behold, as soon as he opens his eyes, the same Lord which was in his heart, which he was so focused on meditating, he saw directly in front of him in this very, very beautiful form. As soon as Dhruva saw this extremely beautiful transcendental form of Lord Prishnigarbha, he became overwhelmed. Correct? Understandable, right? First of all, he's a great devotee, so attached to the Lord, because by this time he had become very attached to the Lord. See, what you focus your mind on, you become attached to. Dhyayato vishantumsa sangasteshu pajayate. Attachment comes by contemplation. Even on sense objects, which are actually a source of misery. What to speak of when the mind is focused on actually something which is attractive at a soul level, at a mind level, and at a body level also. The Lord is attractive in all ways. That's why he is Krishna, Akarshayati iti Krishna. It's very attractive. So he was so overwhelmed with feelings. He immediately offered dandavats to the Supreme Personality of God. He said, fell flat like a rod. He overwhelmed by love of God. And in great ecstasy, he was looking at the Lord. And there's a very beautiful description of how he was looking at the Lord. Now, this is very interesting. And this is what happens when you have intense love. Now, obviously, if there were two friends, if you see somebody whom you really love, you will go and embrace him or her, whoever it is. And nowadays, when you go to airports, it is not unusual to see relatives, sometimes husband and wife, meeting each other, maybe even after 3-4 days. Oh, they embrace as if they are meeting after 10 years. When I went to the US, I remember I was at the Los Angeles airport. And that time, it was like Satyayuga in India, 30 years ago. So I'd never seen at the airport any public display of affection between a man and a lady. Now I think it is common. I don't know, but I think now it is probably not that unusual. When I went to Los Angeles, I saw one man and a lady and they were kissing in full public view, and I was kind of shocked. This is the first time I ever saw something live like this. I was quite shocked. But the point is that, that has happened now. But in some relationships, there is a lot of affection. But for whatever reasons, one may not be able to embrace. Obviously, the devotee cannot rush to the Lord and embrace. But the attraction of Dhruva towards the Lord was so high. He was, with his eyes, it is described, he was drinking the beauty of the Lord. Drinking. Now, how to drink the beauty of the Lord through the eyes? Now, this phrase can be understood only by those who know how to drink the beauty of the Lord through the eyes. It cannot be described. Some things, you cannot describe. As sadhakas, we can understand this point when we are looking at the beautiful transcendental form of the deity form of the Lord decorated very nicely. those who have developed attraction for the deity form of the Lord, they also drink the beauty of the Lord through their eyes. And it is non-different, because the deity is non-different. It is non-different. And it is such a beautiful drinking because it satisfies the heart. This drinking is satisfying the heart. And he was also looking upon the Lord as if in his consciousness he was kissing the lotus feet of the Lord. Even though he was not actually kissing, in his heart, he was kissing the lotus feet of the Lord with his mouth, and he was embracing the Lord with his arms. That was his experience in his heart when he saw the Lord. And the Lord whom he was meditating, the Lord whom he had got so attached to, contemplating on him exclusively for 6 months. But we have to understand his relationship was for 6 months, but his relationship was almost full absorption for 6 months. Do not think, oh, he got it in 6 months. No. What we do in 6 lifetimes also cannot equate to 6 months meditation, because it was full exclusive absorption. It is not the amount of time spent in Krishna consciousness. It is the intensity and the efficiency of the absorption. What does efficiency mean? Out of the 1.5 or 2 hours that we do japa, how much of the time is the mind focused on Krishna? That is efficiency. So we may be chanting for 2 hours, but maybe 20 minutes only we heard the holy name. So efficiency is 20%. And on top of that, intensity. What was the intensity of the absorption? The devotional attitude. 5%, 7%, 8%. So you multiply both, you will see your net output of efficiency for the japa was maybe 3%, 3.5%. So then how can we blame? Oh, Prabhu, I've been chanting for so long. Why nothing is happening? If you run your engine at this speed, and I'm not pointing at all of you, please don't misunderstand. I'm included in this. I'm not judging anybody else. We are all guilty of this to various extents. We have to just recognize that our devotional service at our imperfect stage, the intensity as well as efficiency is quite, but it's okay. I mean, it is still taking us forward. Don't worry. It is not practically possible to just turn the flame like this. It's not so easy. That will gradually happen when we keep associating with those who have a better intensity and efficiency than us. That is the way. Then we will slowly move forward. So in 6 months, Dhruva attained this kind of an attachment because he was so exclusively focused on the Lord. And he was having such a wonderful feeling. And similar experiences, all great devotees, if you look at the various prayers and whether it is the residents of Mathura when they saw Krishna, or the Gopas and the Gopis when they would see Krishna, in the heart of their hearts, they would embrace Krishna. The Gopis will embrace him like a young boy will embrace a girl in their heart. The mothers would embrace just like the elderly Gopis, like a mother would embrace a child. The friends like a friend. So how should we embrace? We should embrace it like Dhruva. We should have a servant consciousness. We should. Of course, he was so affectionate, he kissed the lotus feet of the Lord. But I don't think I can say that. I think I can say just grab to his lotus feet and hold on. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam Namunchati Mukta Sarva Pariklesha Partha Swa Sharanam Yatha. It's a very beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam. We already discussed this verse in the first canto. Dhautatma Purusha Krishna Pada Moolam Namunchati. When a person becomes thoroughly purified, like Dhruva, Dhauta Atma. Dhauta means washed. The dirty cloth is nicely washed. With detergent, softener, it comes out. It's fresh, clean, and fragrant. Feel like wearing it again. That's so nice. So then the Atma becomes Dhauta. All the three modes, all the influence, all the materialistic desires, all removed. Dhautatma Purushaha. What is his chief characteristic? Krishna Pada Moolam Na Munchati. He tightly holds on to Krishna's two lotus feet. And because of his tightly holding onto Krishna's lotus feet, what does that holding mean? He takes full shelter of the Supreme Personality of God. Holding the feet doesn't mean you just go to the deity and grab and just physically, externally grabbing is not going to help. I mean, that may be a nice first step, but if we want the real effect in our heart, we have to grab Krishna's lotus feet and hold on to them. What will happen if we do that? Mukta sarva parikleshaha. One will become free from all material miseries. Pantha swasharanam yatha. Just like a traveler who has been on a long travel, many, many days away from home. In olden times, people would not take a flight or go in an AC vehicle. They would walk over long distances through forests and mountains in sunshine. It would be very arduous to go from place to place in olden times. And when such a person, after a long, long travel, finally comes home, Pantha Swasharanam Yatha. Home, sweet home. So like that. When a person comes back home, back to Godhead, and back home, back to Godhead is not just about going to Golok, Vrindavan. Back home, back to Godhead actually means accepting full shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that can be done even in this world. So when a person does that, he becomes free, mukta, sarva parikleshaha. Just like a person who after a long, long, arduous, tiring travel has come back home. So again, coming back, we are discussing the third verse where Dhruva is displaying this mood. He's displaying this state. Well, genuinely in his heart, he's drinking the beauty of the Lord, kissing his lotus feet, and embracing the Lord with his arms. And Dhruva was so excited. And he knew that the Lord has come, and the proper way to welcome the Lord is by offering beautiful prayers. He's just a 5-year-old boy. And he had not learnt any elaborate prayers. He had probably not even begun to go to school, 5 years old. So he was not well versed in Vedic. It also looks like. And Dhruva was feeling very awkward. Correct? You become so overwhelmed, you want to speak something nice, but you don't know what to speak. And he was like flabbergasted and he didn't know. And the Lord recognized this awkward position of Dhruva. Dhruva was showing all these ecstatic symptoms. But the Lord realized that he's unable to offer prayers. Understanding his desire, the Lord very kindly, so Lord with 4 hands, one of the hands he has his conch. Krishna Purito, the conch which is blown by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He touched that conch shell to the head of Dhruva. Now, when the Lord's conch shell is touched by to the head of Dhruva, it had a amazing effect. Dhruva was standing like this in front of the Lord, and the conch was touched. This conch is not an ordinary conch. It's the Lord's transcendental conch made of the Lord's internal energy, and this is the conch that the Lord blows. The Vedas come from the breathing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna says, Bhagavad Gita. The Vedas are also compared to the breathing. So the conch, as soon as it is touched to his head, all the conclusions of the Vedas were immediately revealed to Dhruva just by that touch. So this is very interesting. Immediately, by that special blessing which was bestowed by the touch of that conch, all Vedic knowledge became revealed and realized by Dhruva instantly. And this is why we say that when we practice bhakti, it may not be necessary, or rather it is not necessary to independently cultivate knowledge, because bhakti by itself is capable of giving all knowledge, like how the Lord bestowed upon Dhruva here. For us, the Lord may or may not put a conch to our head, but when he becomes pleased by our devotional service, Krishna has already said in the Bhagavad Gita, Tesham eva anukampartham aham ajnanajam taman ashyami atma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. In the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I being pleased by them in order to show them my special mercy, I, who am seated in their heart, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. That is Krishna's special mercy. That's why in pure bhakti, there is not necessity of separately cultivating jnana or karma, because everything becomes automatically achieved simply by pure devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Personality. So Dhruva understood everything, including his eternal position and his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his relationship with all living entities. He understood the truths. Veda Anta, the final Vedic knowledge, all become understood. And with this understanding, Brahma Maya, the conch is known as, the conch of the Lord is known as Brahma Maya. Brahma Maya means transcendentally full. The Vedas are also called Brahma. Krishna has used that word, the Bhagavad Gita, the context of the Vedas. Karma Brahmod Bhavam Vidhi. That karma is coming from the instructions of duties, is all coming from the Vedas. Where is the Vedas coming from? From the breathing of the Supreme Person. Tasma Sarvagatam Brahma Nityam Yadne Pratishthitam. That is why the all-pervading transcendence is always situated in acts of sacrifice. So instantly Dhruva became fully self-realized. He was already experiencing the ecstatic symptoms of prema. All knowledge already, became suddenly manifested as soon as the conch was touched to his head. And immediately Dhruva Maharaj started offering beautiful prayers. So not only the Lord gave him knowledge, the Lord gave him the ability to compose beautiful poetry to glorify him. Again, another example of how much we are dependent on the Lord. Dhruva Even to pray to Krishna, he was like, I don't know what to do. Krishna, okay, I'll solve your problem. Now I know how to pray. This is Dhruva's position, what to speak of. So actually, and we have been discussing this theme in the Gita classes. So the more we actually understand transcendental knowledge by the grace of our Guru Parampara and the blessings of the Supreme Personality of God, we realize actually we are so dependent on the Supreme Personality of God, and He's everywhere. Such a crazy illusion that we think He's disconnected. This is the Maya. So let's see what are the prayers that Dhruv offered. Now I'm going to go through this in brief. It's already 35 minutes past 9. Only on verse 6. But never mind. Actually, I also sometimes want to go faster, but what to do? So much beauty in some of these explanations. Not my fault. Leave it on Krishna. Why he's so attractive? His mistake. Just joking. So, the first thing Dhruva says that, oh great Lord, the source of all energy is Akhila Shakti Dharaha. As soon as you touched this conch and blessed me with divine energy. Now, this is something interesting because as soon as the conch was touched, what actually happened? The influence of the divine energy of the Lord, the Parashakti, was infused into the body of the Lord. His spiritual nature and his spiritual senses were activated. Something very interesting. The soul in the material world, his Swarupa, his eternal position and the divine energy is all concealed. It is hidden, so to say, within the soul. It is there in potential, but it is not manifested. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoy, Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karot. Eventually, when through hearing and chanting, when pure love blossoms, the real nature becomes manifest. So by the touch of the conch of the Lord, the soul of Dhruva bloomed fully, and that through the touch of the internal energy, and he immediately sharing what his experience was. And he says, oh Lord, you have through your divine energy entered into me, and you have immediately enlivened all my sleeping senses. My hands, my legs, my ears, my touch sensation, my life force, and even my power of speech. You have enlivened it. And now this is a very interesting point. What does this enlivening mean? Now we can discuss on this in very great detail. But suffice in this context to mention that the Acharyas explain that in the material world, in our current condition state, all our senses are actually asleep. The pure senses of the soul, because the soul also has pure spiritual senses. The spiritual senses are practically asleep. Even when we are pursuing this material world, the spiritual senses are asleep. And when the soul becomes enlivened, activated spiritually, the spiritual senses become active. And the Lord can be perceived and interacted with only with the spiritual senses. Now, this is a very detailed topic, and there's a lot of discussion we can do on this. I don't want to go into that for now, but just suffice to remember that when the senses are enlivened spiritually and they become activated, the soul really feels, now I have senses. That is the experience. We think now, now I can taste, I can. But when the spiritual senses become activated, the experience is so different. I don't know what it is because my spiritual senses are not activated, but I'm telling what Dhruv is telling. Otherwise, you'll say, Prabhuji spoke so excitedly, which means his senses are also. No, it is a very advanced stage of consciousness. And one spiritual sense. But the point Dhruva is saying is the first thing he noticed was, wow, I'm so alive. I was never so alive. Because the actual nature of the soul is, and the soul is so conscious, so alive. In the conditioned stage, the soul is almost, its consciousness has become very, what is the right word to say, contracted. And the spiritual senses have become very inhibited. So when it actually expands. So that is why the experience of God realization, the experience of prema, the experience of the blooming of consciousness, vikasita chetana, so beautiful. It is so wonderful. That is what the acharyas explain. And we can see this 5-year-old boy's excitement. Wow, I'm just feeling so amazing. And he immediately, that's the first thing he shares. By the touch of the divine energy, everything. And what is the perfection of these senses in the purified state? The essential thing is Rishikena, Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchat. Ultimately, what is the meaning of spiritual perfected senses? Is when all the senses are engaged in the service of the Lord of the senses. That is the perfection of devotion. And if somebody asks, how do we activate our spiritual senses? Engage the material senses in the service of Vasudev, Rishikesh. Automatically, the spiritual senses will get activated over time. So that's the simple process. Keep seeing the deities. Gradually, the spiritual sense of eyes will become activated. And you can actually perceive the divine, transcendental form of the Lord, which is beyond the three gunas. The Nirguna form. The form that we see in the deity form is the Saguna form, because it is, even though it is non-different, it is Saguna, because it is crafted out of elements from this world, which the Lord has accepted as his transcendental body. So the Nirguna form of the Lord can be perceived by the transcendental senses. So it's a very beautiful verse. I want to just recite this verse. Yo antapravishya mama vacham imam prasuptam sanjeevayati akhila shakti dhara swadhamna anyamscha hasta charana shravanatvagadin trana namo bhagavate purushaya tukyam. So the internal energy of the Lord activates the senses. The external energy of the Lord contracts the real senses and makes them conditioned. So there are many points in the prayers. I'm not going to go through all the points. So I'm just looking at what are the points I want to highlight, because there are so many beautiful verses. He glorifies the Lord by saying that you are the Supreme Lord. You have different energies. Through the energies, you're manifesting the material and the spiritual world. And after creating the material world, discuss this in the Bhagavad Gita class, you also enter into the world as Paramatma. And through the modes which are manifested in the external energy, all this variety that you create, and you enter into that variety. And just like fire is there within the wood, it is subtle, it is there, but it is not seen. So you are there everywhere. All this knowledge he's able to see, he's able to understand. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, Karma, all this spiritual knowledge becomes clearly understood. He says, oh Lord, in the beginning of creation, you are only the one who gave this knowledge to Brahma. It's like now you are giving to me, you gave with conch. You also gave that to Brahma. Tene Brahma Hridaya Adika Vijayam Yujanti Yat Suraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimano Yat Sarvam. You gave this knowledge to Brahma at the beginning of creation. And at that time also, just like I have been awakened, he also became awakened. Just like a person wakes up from a sleep. And this is another example that Dhruv gives. He also felt like that, when his transcendental senses became activated, just like a sleeping person becomes awakened. Similarly, even Brahmaji was awakened at that time, and he became immediately aware of all his duties. So actually, he's drawing an equivalence between his experience now and what Brahmaji experienced at the beginning of creation. Again, by the same influence of the spiritual potency of the Lord. You are the friend of everyone, my dear Lord. You are the only shelter. So actually, a person who knows things as they are, how can they forget you? Kamba dayalum sharanam brajema. And you are so merciful. So just one touch. So amazing. Just like, the whole house may be so dark. All you need is, the main switch you turn on. Everything becomes light. You can see everything so clearly. So Dhruva is saying, just like you have lit my light. At the beginning of creation, you lit Brahma's light also. But there are those foolish persons, my Lord, become affected by your illusory energy. And they are so foolish. They become so attached to this bag of skin rather than asking you for what you have just given, this knowledge, this love. They ask you for foolish things, illusory things. You are like a desire tree. You can give liberation, you can give pure love. Foolish people ask from you sense gratification. Sense gratification is available even Miraya, even in hellish conditions. Isn't it so foolish, my Lord? People are asking for this. Now, actually, as Dhruva is saying this, even though it is not mentioned here, this reflection is mentioned later. He must be thinking in his mind, inside his own heart. Actually, I was also asking you, or I prayed to you only for this reason only, that I wanted kingdom. So he's already beginning to criticize, even without explicitly saying here, his original motivation. But now you can see from the way he's praying, even though he'll mention it later, you can already see from his prayers, he has already realized the futility of what he actually set out to approach the Lord for. And this is the power of worshipping the Lord, that even when a person has material desire, his material desire is gradually burnt up. Jnanagni dagda karmanam, to the fire of transcendental knowledge. And he's telling how this is happening. Oh Lord, the bliss that a person gets by meditating on your lotus feet, or those who cannot meditate on your lotus feet, those who experience the bliss simply by hearing about your glories from pure devotees, is so amazing, is so wonderful, is so beautiful. It is greater than Brahmananda, the joy of merging into Brahman in a liberated state. So Lord, if the joy of bhakti that I am now experiencing in this ecstatic stage of connecting with you is greater than Brahmananda, again, then what is the sense enjoyment? And what is this nonsense of going to heavenly planets and all this? It is so childish. I can see it so clearly. Why are people wasting their time chasing such things which are first of all so trivial, and even after getting them, one loses them in due course? This is so foolish. Oh Lord, please bless me. Now I understand very clearly. So please bless me that I may always have the association of great devotees who are constantly engaged in your devotional service. As constantly as a river is continuously flowing, just like a river doesn't say pause, continuous flowing. Udvahati, like Kunti Maharani prays, right? Similarly, the Bhagavatam first canto. Let my mind flow towards you like the Ganges is flowing towards the ocean. Even though there are obstacles go around here. Let my devotion to you be like that, and let Dhruv is saying that will be possible if I have association of devotees like that. Because devotees like that are actually transcendental to material nature. And if I get that association, I will also be able to transcend material existence, which is full of all kinds of dangers. I am so excited now. Go on hearing your glories again and again and again. So please bless me with that association, because with that association, I will remain pure and I will enjoy with spiritual senses the ultimate, which is higher than Brahmananda, about always hearing your glories. Satam prasanga mama virya samvido bhavantir karna prasayana katha. This is not from here. First canto. I'm just putting various verses from the Bhagavatam in the context. So I don't want motivated devotion. I want pure devotion. There are a lot of technical philosophical points here, which I'm skipping. So he's saying, let my bhakti be mature, and that maturity in bhakti will not come unless I have association of pure devotees. That's a very beautiful verse. It says, Ya nivrittis tanu bhritam tava pada padma dhyanad bhavajjana katha shravane navasyat sa brahmani swamahimani apinath ma bhut kimtu antakasi lulitat patatam vimanat. It's very interesting. So even at that stage, what are these great souls asking for? Association of devotees. Association of devotees. So it's so amazing, because that is such a powerful facility for the living entity. And when that association is there, what is essentially to overcome material existence and transcend the cycle of birth, and that is going to be very easy. I don't have to worry. I'll be immediately free from misery, tribulation, and temptation. Bhakti muhu pravahatam tvai me prasango bhuyad anantamahatam amalashayanam yenanjana cholban urvesanam bhavabdhim neshe bhavad guna kathamrita panamattah. Panamatta, intoxicated by drinking. This is the intoxication we want to drink. What kind of intoxication? Not Johnny Walker. What intoxication is Dhruv talking about? Bhavad guna kathamrita panamatta. Bhavad means, oh Lord of yours. What? Guna kathamrita. The transcendental pastimes describing the katha describing your qualities. Guna kathamrita. Panamatta. It is so intoxicating, and that intoxication is so wonderful. All miseries of material existence become destroyed. That is a pure bhakti, is also known as Kleshagni. And this is a very beautiful point. those who have an experience of attraction to hearing and chanting can realize the purport of this statement. That when man is absorbed in enjoying the transcendental bliss of glorification of the Lord, of his name, form, quality, and pastimes, in that experience, automatically material existence is extinguished. The problem is we are unable to either go there or remain there. Go there also, we remain for a few moments and then we come down. But those who are able to remain there in that absorption, they are practically unaffected by material existence. (9:56). So I just want to stop here. We'll continue the discussion of the prayers further. I wanted to cover more verses. Let me see whether this is a logical point. Not quite, but it's okay. I don't think we can. There are quite a few things we need to discuss. It's okay. We have covered verse 11. We will discuss next time from verse 12. Verse 12 is also nice. It's an extension of the previous point, but I think we can start from that next time because it will be a good revision also. Maybe I should just mention. I think let me cover 12 and then we can stop. So he just continues and extends on the point that he made in verse 11 about association of devotees and drinking the intoxicating drink of Harikatha. By saying that when I drink that intoxicating drink of Harikatha, another effect that drinking will have is it will give naturally, it will give detachment. Saugandhya lubdha hridayeshu. So one who takes shelter of the association of devotees, because the devotees who are actually attracted to the Lord, their heart is filled with the fragrance. Remember, we discussed this some time ago, that because the lotus feet of the Lord are in the heart of the devotee, and he speaks Harikatha, we're talking about advanced pure souls. The dust of the saffron particles which are at the lotus feet of the Lord come through the Harikatha and they enter our heart and they transcendentally influence us. So here it is compared like a fragrance. The fragrance affected heart of the devotees. One who has taken association of the devotees whose hearts have smelled the fragrance of your lotus feet, they do not care for this material body. Dhana, jana, yauvana, Edhana yauvana, putra parijana, iteke ache parati. The person who has developed that attachment, he understands what is the value in all these things. This will come and go. Bhajahu hari padaniti. Let us always cultivate transcendental attachment to the lotus feet. So samsara becomes destroyed simply by the process of continued absorption in hearing and chanting Harikatha in the association of devotees. And that is precisely the reason why on every Saturday we are coming. Of course, I am not the best medium to pass this to you, but we are attempting together to discuss the great words of the Acharyas, what Srila Prabhupada has given and the other Acharyas have given. So we can collectively become purified by the nectar which is coming. So it's a very beautiful verse. I just want to recite the verse 12 and then we will end. Tena smaranti atitaram priyam ishamartyam echanvadaha sutasurud griha vittadaraha yetu abjanabha bhavadiya padaravinda saugandhya lubdardayeshu trita prasangaha. Such a beautiful realization. and all these beautiful, deep conclusions. These are the actual conclusions of Vedanta. Wow. So beautiful. The Lord is so beautiful. His Hari Katha is the best medicine to become free from samsara, and it's also the most nourishing drink for the soul. Pleasing drink for the soul. It's both the medicine. Medicine because it cures samsara. At the same time, it's most tasty. Bhavad guna kathamrita pana matta. So right now we may not be feeling the pana matta, but at least we can feel some medicinal effect at the moment of slowly extinguishing material existence by gradually developing detachment from matter. But that's the direction we are heading. If we are continuing satam prasangam mamaviryasam, of continuously discussing in the association of devotees, then we will eventually come to that state. And that's why Krishna, even in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavad everywhere, describes the great souls as Satatam Kirtayanto Mam Yatantashaddadabrata Namasyantascha Mam Bhaktya Nityavakta Pasa. That they're always glorifying. So it's so tasty and so wonderful. Always glorify the Supreme Personality. Okay? So Dhruv Maharaj ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. One question. Can you explain about the four-handed form of Vishnu? What each arm signifies?
Each arm signifies. Each arm has
Yes.
a different paraphernalia, right, of the Lord. Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. So two of these items are used to destroy the wicked, the mace and the chakra, and two of these items are used to give blessings to the devotees, the Shankha and the Padma. So the Gada and the Chakra, we like to see, but we like to see it on action on other people. Devotees like to see it also, but we like to see it all as in action on the Asuras. But when it comes to us, because there is pastime where the Lord has also touched the lotus. I don't recollect. Was it in Kajendra or some other pastime where the Lord, rather than the conch, it is mentioned he used lotus to touch. Because all these paraphernalia of the Lord are transcendental. They are made of the spiritual energy. The conch is very special, like what I mentioned, Krishna Purito. Krishna Purito means because it is blown. So there are beautiful verses describing all these four paraphernalia of the Lord in the Bhagavad, especially in the 6th Canto, 8th chapter. Very nicely, there is a verse on each of them. So it's nice to meditate on by heart those verses. But that is essentially the point, right? So two of them are for blessings and two of them are for punishment. Yeah.
Yeah, Prabhuji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So of course there is much more deeper meaning on various things, but right now I think for I do not recollect all the details. Right, each of them have much more symbolism also. But yeah, that we can. But the conch very clearly is representing transcendental knowledge. Yeah, especially.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other points? Any other questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
So I just wanted to confirm a point. So, okay, Dhruv Maharaj has his own own different planet. So when the annihilation happens, his planet will still remain. Isn't it? There is two kind of annihilation. One is what is that when it's nighttime of Brahma, and the other one is that when what is that Brahma ends his life. So the point which I'm asking, is it right, Prabhu? That means during the nighttime of Brahma, and also when what is that Brahma's life is end, as far as the what the the Durvaloka planet will still remain. Is it, Prabhu? Am I right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it is an eternal planet. So it is said even when the whole material existence is annihilated, it is said that that planet will remain. That's what the Bhagavad says. We will discuss that in the next class if we reach that far. But that is part of the blessings that the Lord gives to him. And the Lord says that Dhruvalok, or the pole star. So in this world, pole star, as you can see in the sky at night, that is Dhruvalok. So it is said on the pole star planet, we call it planet because in the sense of a loka means that sense planet, but of course modern astronomy will call it as a star, the pole star. But in that loka, there is a milk ocean, and within the milk ocean there is an island by the name of Shweta Dvipa. And on that island, the Lord is residing, this world. And that is a spiritual planet within the material world. And Dhruva is residing there. And that is the place where the Devatas also go. They want to pray. They are on the bank of the milk ocean. So, of course, the Devatas also cannot directly access the Supreme Lord even there. So, doesn't mean that we can just take a spaceship and go and see him. So, great personalities like Narada, Dhruva, Jigumuni was able to go there. So, there are some certain places where some very, very exalted people can go and visit, especially devotees can go and visit. So, yeah, so that planet is apparently eternal as far as I can see. Yes, and it is never destroyed, even though the material world is destroyed.
Can I just confirm another point, Prabhu? Prabhu, in what is the Bhagavad Gita, when the battle is going to begin, there it is mentioned that when Krishna blows his conch shell, his name is Panchajanya. But when you were using the name of the conch shell, I think it was a different name, isn't it, Prabhu? Am I? Did I get you right?
No, I didn't give the name of the conch shell. I said Krishna Purito. Krishna Purito means
Okay.
the one which is blown by the Lord, because that word Krishna Purito is used in the Bhagavatam in the Narayan Kavacha prayers. I'm trying to recollect the beginning of that verse. It's a very beautiful verse.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you.
No, it's good. It's nice to remember. So I'll recite this verse. This is the 25th verse from the 6th Canto, 8th chapter. So if you want to glorify the Shankar, this is 6, 8, 25. Tvam yatu dhan paramata preta matre pishacha vipragha ghura drishtin darendra vidravaya Krishna purito imasvano arer hridayani kampayan. O best of conch shells, Panchajanya, this is referring to Panchajanya. The hands of the Lord, you are always filled with the breath of Lord Krishna. Krishna Purito means filled with the breath of Lord Krishna. And therefore you create a fearful sound vibration that causes trembling in the heart of enemies like the Rakshasas. Pramatha, ghosts, Preta, Matra, Pishachas, the Brahmana ghosts with fearful eyes. So very interesting. So even though conch is not used to, even though it is used often for blessings, the conch also has an effect of repelling all negative elements. So the conch of the Lord is glorified, that it repels the ghosts and all kind of evil entities. Of course, this is true for the Panchajanya, but even otherwise, it is said, even in this world, conch shell is good. If you blow the conch shell at home, it drives out negative energies and negative entities. So it's usually a good practice to blow conch shell. So it is Panchajanya, yes.
Okay, Prabhu, thanks. So, especially among the devotees, they may see it is good that even you in our homes also every day what is said born we kind of blow the
Yes.
conch shell, supposed to be
Yes.
auspicious in nature.
All the items of Aarti that we offer, they drive in various ways negative energies and they create a positive environment. Yeah. So Dhupa, Deepa, Shankha, Yajana, all of this have a specific effect. The conch is especially the conch, just very briefly, the frequency of sound that it creates. If there are any negative energies or entities, it's like a nuclear bomb for them. It's like a bomb blast. It just throws them off. Now, how exactly that works, I don't know. But it actually repels and just throws off negative entities. So it is a good cleanser. Just looking for. Yeah. Yeah. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has also said, Dhruva Lok remains even at the time of dissolution of this universe. Prabhupada says, the answer is simple. Dhruva Lok remains like other Vaikuntha Lokas beyond this universe. It is eternal.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, that Dhruva Tara is seen in the sky. Is that means,
Yes,
during
yes.
wedding
Same
procession
one.
also they.
Same one. It is same one. The only thing is we cannot with telescope see, Shirodakshay Vishnu lying on the milk ocean. Even Devatas cannot see. What to speak of us? Because the Lord is there in his transcendental form. So we are able to see at one level, which is the material level, the pole star. But within that, the milk ocean, and within that, so some of these things will be subtle. Actually, not even subtle, spiritually subtle. So this is spiritual things, especially the transcendental form of the Lord. So yes, but it is there on that pole star, Dhruva Tara. So whenever we look at the sky and look at the pole star, we should pray to Dhruva Maharaj and Shirodakshay Vishnu, not Shirodakshay Vishnu. Yes. So even some great devotees also can attain that planet and reside and get the association of the Lord there. So that is the Vaikuntha planet where the Lord is residing in this world. Just like within this world, Lord Shiva is on Kailash, within this world, Lord Vishnu is on Dhruva Loka. Brahma is in Brahma Loka. So that's where the ocean of milk is. So if somebody is asking where is the ocean of milk, it is on the pole star. Okay, but yeah, too far for us to go and get milk from there. Okay, any other comments, questions?
Can I just ask another question, Prabhu?
Yeah, please. I have time, no problem. Unless you can tolerate me, I am okay.
So So as a bhaktas, if we find that the requirements to go to the other Vaikuntha planets, it is too high. So can we aspire
Can we go to
to, to,
I do not know what is the specific qualification for this, but I don't think it is different in the sense that it is still considered eternal, it is still considered Vaikuntha Loka. So I think, but there is something special about that. So maybe if we are in this world, for example, when unlike Narad Muni, who can even go to the spiritual world in his current body, we cannot, most living entities, even Brahmaji cannot go to Vaikuntha and take darshan of the Lord while he is in his material body. But there have been certain very special personalities who have seen Lord Vishnu on Shvetadvipa. So, for example, the pastime of Bhrigu Muni also, right? He went and kicked Lord Vishnu on the chest. Obviously, didn't go to Vaikuntha. It was Lord Vishnu resting on Ananta there, the milk ocean. So maybe for those who are very pure devotees who are in this world, have that and are somehow blessed with that extraordinary ability, they can actually see Lord Hari there. But maybe there is more information. It's just that I don't know right now. But it is Vaikuntha, so I don't see that it is lesser qualification to see there, because even the devatas cannot go there. That the qualification is not. It is still pure devotional service.
Okay, Prabhu. Thanks, Prabhu.
Yeah. Find out more. Yes. Yeah, Minalji, is it? Yeah. But
in the same context, but Bhagavad Gita 2.47.
Yeah.
So the general, this is one of the very famous words which everybody knows, but the meaning, the understanding is different, right? Karm karta ja phal ki ichha mat kar. But when I was reading it, the meaning is a bit confusing. So I want to just clarify. It says, right, you have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the perfection, which is okay. But then it further says, never consider yourself the cause of the result of your activities. This is a bit confusing. So even if you do right or wrong, so people may understand that, right? I am not the cause.
No, so we discussed that in detail, right? In the 18th chapter, the Lord says there are 5 causes of action. But we discussed this in detail. And one of them is the endeavor, whether it's the place, it's the body. Right. So if you remember, in that discussion, we had said that what we are saying that we are not the cause means we are not the exclusive cause. We are only 20%. And the fruit is ultimately given by Daiva, which is the 5th cause, the last and the most powerful. So the point is, what that verse is trying to say is, don't be egoistically attached to think that because I have performed my work, I am now entitled to get the result. Yeah. So do not think like that, because there are many other factors beyond performing of the work.
So that is when, if something good happen, right, or we achieve something, no, not to be egoistic. When we did, when we are the cause of something we did wrong, right? That's the second part, right?
So we are still responsible for whatever we did. It's not that we are not responsible, but what Krishna is saying is, don't think that just because you performed action A, the result you will get exactly the way that you would expect. Correct? For example, right? Okay. So let's say I give you a loan, or you give me a loan of 100 ringgit. Okay. But when it comes to pay you back, I only pay you back 20 ringgit. You expected 100 ringgit, right? From me, pay back. But I paid you back only 20 ringgit. Oh, Meenalji, you forgot. Last time you had taken 80 ringgits, from me. You didn't pay that back to me. You forgot. But I remembered, so I settled it in this transaction. So the point is, we may think while performing an activity that this is how the result is to be calculated. But the point is, there are so many factors in the result. Correct? Yeah. It doesn't always work out the way on paper it seems to work out. Not that there is something wrong, but the point is there are 5 factors. And all 5 factors will act and determine the outcome. So what Krishna is saying is, you go on performing your duty, you will not understand how exactly and what fruit you will get immediately. Yes, you know in principle that you will get good when this, but exactly will you get 100 back? You don't know what is your backlog. You don't know what are the various other factors in action. So what Krishna is saying is, don't be bothered about that too much. You focus on performing the action with excellence, knowing that this is the right thing to do. Karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu. Do not be attached, get the result, but you just perform the action. Let whatever comes, let it come. But again, this detachment doesn't mean that you must have lethargy in doing it. Ma karma phal heturbu mate sangostva karmani. Just because you are detached from the work doesn't mean you become lazy to do your work. Sorry, detached from fruit doesn't mean you are lazy to do the work.
And the prescribed duty is what with the 4 regulative principle, what Krishna tells as well. The karmani.
No. Prescribed duty is not for 4 regulative principles are part of the niyama for us as devotees, right? These are the things we should avoid so that we do not engage in sinful activity. So 4 regulative principle is not a punya. 4 regulative principle is to avoid papa. Correct? I mean, it is saying don't sin. That is the point, right? So prescribed duties is based on nature. So for example, you have multiple roles. You have a prescribed duty as a daughter, as a wife, as a mother, as an employee, as a disciple, as a devotee. These are all various responsibilities and duties that you have in all the roles that you have. Based on your guna and karma, you also have a particular nature. So there is a kartavya. This is how you should act based on all these roles and having considered your nature. So that is your prescribed duty. So continue to perform your prescribed duty with detachment. But don't let that detachment to the fruit result in not being excited to perform your action. Which means, for example, oh, you're performing something worth 100 ringgit, but I will not guarantee whether you will get 100 back. So don't be disinterested. You still have to do it because that is what will lead to a greater good for you. Don't worry. The calculations, whoever is doing, they will do the right calculations and net justice will come to you. But do not be either disinterested or become depressed because the results are not coming the way you wanted or expected them to come. You cannot act without purpose. This is not saying that you have to act without purpose. So one way to look at this is that you must have the goal in your mind. Obviously, you are acting for a goal only, right? Otherwise, why would you act? But you have thought about the goal, but when you are performing your action for that goal, then you're not thinking about the goal. You're just fixed on performing the action the best way you can, and then you just forget it. Let the result come according to Daiva in the proper way, and you just carry on doing the work. And that is the way one can actually be most efficient in work also. Because when we are not worried about the result of the work, then we perform the work the best. Right? Yeah. When we are not worried about whether we'll pass or fail, then when we write the exam, we do best. But obviously, when we are, before we sit for the exam, the goal is to pass the exam. It doesn't mean that we have to think that I don't want to pass. But when we are sitting for the exam and writing the paper, we don't think about whether I will pass or fail. We just think about answering the question the best. That's what it actually means.
So one more question, Prabhuji. What is the relation to that question Arjuna asked in chapter number 1 about he mentioned that no, it will be a sin and I will not be able to enjoy if I do the war. So which point does it relate to this particular verse?
That is his material consciousness. No? So what he's saying is, yeah, that is his consciousness is that I am working, this kingdom will be enjoyable for me only if my relatives are there with me. Because, correct, I mean, for us also, right, all of us, if somebody says, I will give you $1 billion, but all your friends, relatives, everybody is close to you, I will take away. And you will think, what will I do with the 1 billion? I mean, you can have a big house, but if you're going to sit alone in that house, what is the point? So, from a material perspective, it is not a very encouraging thought. So, because at that point in time, Arjuna was playing the role of a person who is thinking at a material platform rather than a spiritual platform. He makes that argument that I see this as futile. Because these people will die. But Krishna's point is when you are doing dharma, then the performance of dharma itself is the source of happiness. Dharma never leads one into suffering, even though immediately sometimes some circumstances may be painful. One must always understand that following a dharma, even if it is convenient, doesn't lead to happiness. Dharma, even if it is inconvenient and painful, net will always make us more happy and satisfied as compared to taking a path of adharma and convenience. Even though immediately in a particular situation there may be adversities and externally may create situations of suffering from a material perspective. You understand what I'm saying?
Thank you. Yeah, can relate.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Any other questions or comments? So should we have class tomorrow for our sadhaka, Sadachar and
Yes, Prabhu.
only Bhaskar is excited. Yes, I heard Suraj. Suraj, your face, the black part between your nose and lips seems to have disappeared.
Yeah, Prabhuji. I was not able to balance it. So,
It's very auspicious. It's like being touched by Krishna's constant and your mustache. Santana Prabhu also had at one time, right? You also had a mustache, right?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Huh?
Yes, I was having at the beginning. When I was in Malaysia, I was having. When I left Malaysia, I removed. By the time
Yeah, none of you have seen me in a mustache. I had a very thick mustache.
wow.
And I had a mustache even when I was in school. I was almost as tall as I am now when I was in school. I also had a mustache. So I used to, even when I was in school, I used to look like I am a person who is working somewhere. It's a different story. but it's good. Vaishnavas prefer to be clean. So it's good. Okay, so we are okay for a class tomorrow, I'm assuming.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, fine. Whoever can join, can join. So tomorrow 9 p.m. Malaysia time we will connect. Okay. Santara Srimad Bhagavatam ki
Jai.
Jai, Shri Prabhupada ki Jai.
Jai.
Samarita Deva Bhakti. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.